Dear Scott, to the special man who has a special little boy sent me my first love letter, I'll always remember that. Congratulations on a successful 50 years. Gene Watkins Bauer. So one of the babysitters. And back then, I can admit it now, I think at 50, it's get less embarrassed at the time. But I Dream of Jeannie was a television show on during that time. You know, and so Jeannie is a babysitter, and you know, Jeannie from the TV show. You know, Jeannie was my first crush, I guess, having her as a babysitter. And frankly, as I recall, even at whatever age I was, she was as attractive as, you know, Barbara Eden was on I Dream of Jeannie.
Still is.
And still is. I haven't seen her in 20 years, but I'm sure she is. And actually, I'll just say at the same time, that to be fair to her sister, but Janet, a couple of years older, we were walking down the street once with, I don't know, some of my friends, and Janet walks by, and they're going, whoa, who is that? I go, my babysitter. So boys are boys at any age, that's all I can say. That's for sure.
Probably shouldn't have done it, like creeper.
Not to take away from Joel and I, we had great babysitters, so had no complaints. Happy 50th birthday.
I think
Some
Dad was
birthdays
picking
are
the babysitter.
bigger than others. Their memory sparkles and glows. Their songs and their laughter will echo long after. And this year you have one of those. You're celebrating your 50th birthday, and that makes this a very special time, not just for you, but for everyone who knows what a very special person you are. Enjoy. Happy birthday, Jim Mosier. This is, and then there's a long letter which I won't read to all of you, but Jim Mosier was my earliest friend that I had, and you know, my best friend still, he left and I picked up these two. Wandering in the wilderness, as it were.
But we lived for friends.
Right.
Wandering the halls of Madison Park.
Madison Park, it was Mr. McFarland's class. It was actually getting started with Boy Scouts. But Jimmy lived across the way in the neighborhood, just across a couple fences and such. And my mom and his mother, for many years, even after moved away, the mother stayed in contact even more so than the boys did till she passed away some number of years ago. But Jimmy was a great friend. We had a lot of good experiences, including
Did you see these?
falling off of a fence and getting cut on my head, and walking to his mother's house with blood coming down, and arm that was broken, and
Poison ivy.
and she
The good old days.
right.
My,
And there again, you don't think about this, you know, well, how most people would react. It's like, oh, we should get that cleaned up, you know, as opposed to freaking out or whatever. And so it was, she was a great neighbor to have. And Jimmy and I had a lot of fun. We did make a flying, we spent a lot of time pounding a bunch of nails and built this whole great big platform to fly up out of the cellar. And we told her mother to open the door. His mother opened the door when we were ready. She said, no problem, I'll open it when it's ready. Of course, the thing was bigger than the doorway anyway. And we took our 2 double D batteries and hooked them together, and nothing happened. We kept trying, and nothing happened.
I had a study group at my place. We only lived about a block from you. We were out in the backyard. You would see this thing floating in the air. Looked like a mattress lit up. And we found out later you had something to do with it, some of your buddies.
Yeah, that was
quite a subject of conversation.
it had nothing to do with me. However, I did because I was not caught. Now Siegfried's brother, he got caught. Him and Smith, Keith Smith.
Oh,
Yeah, what it was, we had discovered, another friend of ours, Dave Kramer, who lives in California, they had discovered by taking the dry cleaning bags, which are very clear and very thin, you tape the top, because there's just a couple holes at the top. And then you put plastic straws and make a cross on the bottom. Put candles on them. You have a hot air balloon, basically. And it will go for miles or ages. And we did this once at Dave Kramer's place, and it was a hot night, so the air wasn't as lifting, so it goes right up, grazes the roof of the house next door, and then manages to go on. So the key was, like any of these kinds of things, you do them once in a while. And we used to do them up at Siegfried's place and Scott Circle, and they could go down the entire valley. You do it once or twice. Once we went to college, then Siegfried's brother and his friend decided, like, let's do it every night. Because the police will never figure out where they're coming from if we do it every night. Give them a beacon. And there was articles in the paper with pictures saying UFOs, flying saucers, what's going on. And then we read Wolfgang Dietz, Keith Smith. And we're going, we trained you, and look how you repay us.
Bad sharks.
I remember, and he reiterates the story about the UFOs.
It was, and all I can say, it wasn't us.
Our claim to fame.
That was our,
No,
It's scary.
right, well, it's, Keith Smith, All right, clearly this comes from
We
somebody.
had to go to the police came, and they got Wolfgang. And then they said, you come along, and then you make 13. So they took him to the police, and he had to make one. And then he came home so mad, because he said, I did it, and they even didn't let me take home what I made. They kept it. He could not understand that.
I made it, what can I take? What's the problem with it?
Yeah, and they kept it.
Can you believe that the police kept the thing that was, and there's somehow this law about things that were flaming going through the air. That was illegal.
I don't think we knew it was illegal.
We didn't know it was illegal.
No, we knew we shouldn't be caught, but I don't think we knew.
Right.
I don't think you would have either, and kind of funny because here in upstate New York did the same thing, the, cleaning bag, and it really was rather.
Wasn't me. It was- And actually, what they ended up saying was, I don't think it was, later on, I think it was in the fire, they're actually saying it was a hazard for planes. Their concern was more.
Are they still doing it in New York?
No, not that I know. It was
No.
maybe a connection,
But
you're right.
And it didn't have in Germany in the newspaper.
Yeah, that's right.
And some of our relatives, they wrote something about it. They cut a piece out and I forgot what it was. Do you remember?
Side of the
Huh?
hill.
I think they did not brought the name, but they said something like, our relatives, do you know who was it? Because the name was not in the newspaper in it. But it said Stratford, and it went over the place where they played football or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, at night, and then it went over.
No, in Germany. International fame. That's how exciting Trotwood is.
Did they put a rest in?
Why isn't that in? I just got the history of Trotwood book. That should be in there. With every update is, send that in there. We should get recognized. Someone's got it. It's international. I'm looking through the book. I don't see hardly anybody in there that I know.
You know, Scott, what the police says, we couldn't find any law that we could charge them.
That was, we have.
And they never pointed their fingers at you, did they?
We weren't there. We were in Miami University. We were innocent. We didn't know.
I doubt innocent, but you weren't there.
Yeah, that's right.
I think the correct term is not guilty.
No contender, I believe, is the legal term.
Yeah,
No
okay.
contest. All right. Oh, this is a picture of the Boy Scouts on a camp out telling these ghost stories. Scary stories. And then you start to grow hair in your ears. Sad thing is, those things you can see, you get this little twirly thing for $9.99, for nose hair and ear hair. I got one of those like a few years ago, and otherwise they're right. It would be like, it's really.
The barber will do it for you.
Turns out some horror stories are true. Happy birthday. This is from my older cousin Dean and his family. Scott, best wishes to you on this milestone birthday. Welcome to the club. Sorry to be there for the celebration, but we're sure we'll have a crowd being 50 and up. Take care and stay young. Dean and I used to go with my grandparents out west on a number of trips which were memorable. The way I remember them, I think my grandmother might have had another thing, but memorable.